What's up guys, Tyler here and welcome back to the channel. Now if you are a vocalist, a producer, or an audio engineer, you already know just how important compression is for getting a professional vocal sound. However, if you're on a tight budget or you're just getting into the world of audio production, you don't have the ability to spend a lot of money on high-end compressor plugins, then you might be looking for some free options. Luckily, there are a ton, and in this video, I'm going to give you my 5 favorite free compressors and tell you why, honestly, I believe they're just as great as some of the paid iterations out there. So let's dive in. All right, so first up on the list, we have BusterSE by Analog Obsession. Now, it seems that there are a million SSL-G master bus compressor emulations out there, which can make it a little bit difficult to get excited about new ones that hit the market, though I will say that once in a while, a developer will manage to deliver something that feels genuinely new in the SSL emulation space, and this is precisely what Analog Obsession has done with their BusterSE compressor plugin. The design, as you can see, for anyone that is familiar with the SSL-G master bus compressors, the design closely follows the real world layout of the real thing. You have knobs for threshold, makeup gain, attack, release, and ratio. However, they also did add a dry-wet mix control on here, which I love for parallel compressing vocals directly within the plugin. You also have a sidechain input section with a high-pass filter, which is great for controlling low-end buildup in your vocals. If you want a little bit more character, there are some added modes at the top here. Turbo mode, for example, extends the compression into the entire frequency range. If you turn it off, which I prefer for vocals, it focuses more on the mid-range frequencies. Great for tightening up the core without letting the low end affect the compressor. We also have the X-Former mode, which is an emulated transformer circuit. This adds a little bit of warmth, a little bit of tonal coloration. It's very subtle, but it is a nice touch with this compressor, especially if you're looking for a more vintage-inspired sound. And of course, if you ever want to bypass the plugin completely, you have the main switch right here. Let's see how this thing actually sounds in action.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine. Broken the speed of light, passing the stars by. Nothing a fever dream caught in a magazine. Broken the speed of light, passing the stars by. Nothing a fever dream caught in a magazine.
All right, now I'm going to engage the turbo mode so you can hear the difference.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine. I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine. I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine.
To me, it gives you a lot more low end, which is great if you want a warmer, thicker vocal. Let's try the X-Former mode.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine.
Yeah, you can hear a lot of mid-range push.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine.
It's nice, especially if you want a little more presence with your vocals without having to add any additional EQ. Now, one of the things that you'll probably note about the BusterSE plugin is that it has a really clean, hardware-inspired GUI. It's very easy to navigate. Analog Obsession does this with a lot of their plugins, very visually appealing interfaces, and BusterSE is no exception to that, laid out in a nice way. There aren't any presets on this plugin, so you will have to do everything from scratch, but if you're looking for an excellent G master bus compressor emulation, this one's it, and it's free. Next up, we have LALA by Analog Obsession, which is a free emulation of the classic Teletronics LA2A optical compressor. The LA2A has earned pretty legendary status in the world of vocal processing because it's smooth, it's warm, and for me, it's a go-to when I want to add a bit of vintage character to my vocals and replicate the classic sound of the 60s. First off, LALA is subtle, does add a lot of analog smoothness. There is a good bit of harmonic saturation that you get with this plugin. Can really make vocals shine in a mix, especially if you're working on a more organic track. Perfect for when you want a controlled and polished vocal sound without it sounding too processed or squashed. When it comes to an LA2A style compressor, I usually like to stick with 3 to 5 dBs of gain reduction, as I feel like that's kind of a sweet spot for natural and more transparent compression. Let's see how this thing actually sounds on a track. So we'll start with it off so you can hear the vocal clean.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine.
Now on.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine. I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine. I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine.
So as you can see, we're getting a pretty hefty dose of gain reduction right there, yet it still sounds pretty transparent. A lot of this has to do with the fact that I have this high pass filter knob right here. So you're not getting a lot of that low end that is impacting the sound of the compression, which is a nice little addition that they have on this LA2A compressor emulation. You also have some mid-range parameters right here, which can adjust the compressor sensitivity to the mid-range. Great for when you want to emphasize certain frequencies in your vocals. And like most LA2A compressors, you also get this high frequency flat knob over here, which basically adjusts the compressor's response to high frequencies. Very, very nice upgrade from the original LA2A's R37 setting, and allows you to preserve a little bit of brilliance and airiness in vocals while still applying a good bit of gain reduction. All right, up next we have Cramit by 6Sample and Integraudio, and it is a little bit unique to the other plugins in that it is a multiband compressor rather than a standard hardware or analog compressor emulation. Not only does it do regular multiband compression that's very similar to the OTT multiband compression that was really big in the 2010s, especially with EDM, but you also get a high quality distortion module that you can use to add saturation and character to your vocals. You can either apply upwards or downwards compression depending on what you need. Perfect for taming different frequency ranges in your vocals that are problematic, or emphasizing the ones that you really like. Basically with this compressor you get more control over each part of your vocal. There are 7 different saturation types built into the plugin, and one of the neat things about it is that you can use them in either pre or post. Now, usually if I want a little bit more control over the harmonic saturation in my vocal, I want a little bit of warmth, a little bit of an analog vibe, then I'll apply gentle saturation before my compression in pre. However, if I want to really drive the vocal, really make it pop, I'll crank up the distortion in post. And this is great for, especially when you want a more even sound going into your distortion. Cramit also comes with 10 factory presets to get you started, which is great if you're new to multiband compression or saturation, as you have a pretty solid base of presets to experiment with. And if you want to actually customize the way it looks, there are a couple of skins that you can choose from, which is a nice little touch. So how does this thing actually sound? Let's take a look. We're going to start with it off so you can hear the vocal raw again.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine.
All right, now we're going to initiate the default preset.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine.
Okay, so as you can see right off the bat, even with the default, you get a lot of highs, a lot of mids, a lot of saturation. You get a result from the minute that you turn this plugin on, which is pretty unique. Let's try the subtle OTT preset here, as that's kind of the sound I'd like to go for.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine.
Sounds really nice. Maybe let's bring down the highs a little bit. It's a little bit crispy.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine. I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine.
Yeah, that thing sounds great. And you can also adjust the distortion and drive. Let's crank those.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine. I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine. I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine. I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine.
Ooh, yeah, so you can get some really crunchy distortion out of this.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine.
You also have the mix knob over here, of course.
I've been a fever dream caught in a magazine. Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine.
If you want just a little bit of that crisp up top, really nice. Overall, I think Cramit is really great when you want serious character with your vocals. It can turn a dry, boring vocal into something that's really exciting, really present, really mid-forward, which is perfect for a more modern mix. Before we get into the rest of the compressor plugins, I want to quickly say if you like this video and you want to see more plugin reviews or more VST reviews, please subscribe to Integraudio, and we'll have a lot more content coming very soon in the future. All right, next up we have the ADHD leveling tool, which is another opto compressor. Now, it is a very simple compressor. There aren't many new or innovative features, but it does exactly what a compressor should do, and it sounds great, which is why it's on this list. Now, above all the features, I do want to highlight that it does have 4x oversampling and 64-bit internal processing, so you get a really high fidelity sound with this free compressor. There are two main knobs on the interface that control the gain and the peak reduction, and 4 additional knobs over here which are responsible for the attack, release ratio, and the dry wet. All right, so let's see how this thing actually sounds in action. So here's the raw vocal to get you started.
Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine.
And now here is the sound of the ADHD leveling tool on the default preset.
Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine.
All right, so right off the bat, we get a lot more character, we get a lot more volume. Let's play around with the settings while we have the vocal playing here.
Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine. Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine. Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine. Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine.
I'm gonna really get this peak reduction going, and then we'll mix in the dry wet knob to see what that sounds like.
Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine. Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine. Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine. Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine.
All right, so very, very transparent with the dry wet knob, which is great. You also have the high pass filter over here and an additional drive knob, which is great for getting a little bit more character out of it. Overall, like I said, very, very simple compressor, and not much else to say there, but would highly recommend it if you're looking for some analog style compression that you can quickly dial in. All right, last up on the list, we have the SPEComp, which is another plugin by Analog Obsession. It is one of the simplest on this list of 5 free plugins, yet it punches way above its weight in terms of how it sounds and how easy it is to use. SPEComp has a very straightforward interface, as you can see. It offers the usual suspects in terms of compression parameters, including threshold, attack, release, and ratio. But where the magic happens, in my opinion, is its ability to glue together multiple vocals. And in this instance, we have 5 different vocals in this stack that we're gluing together, and it sounds really, really nice. Just like an SSL compressor, SPEComp imparts this warm and saturated sound without darkening the signal too much. It's got a nice smooth quality. You get this gain reduction meter here in the center, which offers you a nice little visual indicator of frequency compression, so you can get a clear picture for how the compressor is working. And there is also this hidden oversampling mode, which I didn't realize was there for the longest time, that you can activate by clicking the Analog Obsession logo. Now, when engaged, you'll see it turn red. It basically helps to reduce any distortion or aliasing that's in your track, especially when you're applying heavy compression. This is a fantastic feature to have. Great for tracks when you want the smoothest possible sound without introducing any unwanted distortion. Let's listen to how this thing sounds.
Having a fever dream, caught in a fever.
Here's the raw vocal, so you can hear it again.
Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine.
All right, now we're going to pull the threshold back here. We got a 4:1 ratio, fast attack, fast release, and a medium knee. We also have the oversampling mode turned on.
Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine. Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine. Having a fever dream, caught in a magazine. Life ain't a fever dream, caught it in a magazine. Life ain't a fever dream, caught it.
Give you guys another line of the song here so we don't have to hear the same thing over and over.
Broken the speed of light, passing the stars by. Broken the speed of light, passing the stars by.
Oversampling mode actually does quite a bit on here.
Broken the speed of light, passing the stars by.
Yeah, overall, very, very simple, easy compressor to use. It's got a great looking interface as with the other analog Obsession plugins, and is perfect for when you want to impart a little bit of character on your vocals and you want to do it in a pinch. Not many controls to look at, which makes it even easier for beginners to work with. All right, guys, there you have it. My top 5 favorite free compressor plugins for vocals on the market today. If you like this video, please subscribe to Integraudio. You can also check out the links in the descriptions, which will get you these plugins so you can download them and try them for yourselves. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know how you feel about these compressors in the comments. Let us know how we can make these videos better in any way and more informative for you. And thank you guys so much for watching. Take it easy.